and welcome. This is Street Talk. I am TV, in Abuja, the Nigerian capital. There are simply some things that defy any logical explanation. And one of such is how the government of a state, in its right senses, will abandon capital projects for not just a year or two or four, but then 10, 15, and even 20 years and counting, after millions and billions of public funds have been invested into such. The usual excuse is the supposed drop in monthly allocation from the Federation account, but then there was also a time in Nigeria when each of the 36 states had almost more than enough. While some with visionary state executives invested and saw the completion of landmark infrastructure and facilities, there are the unfortunate states that have nothing to show, or those whose successive governors simply did not share in the vision of their predecessors. On this edition of the program, we shall continue with our focus on capital projects abandoned across the country by some of the state governors. We shall be taking you to Niger State in north-central Nigeria, Cross River State in the south-south, and then Kaduna State in northwest, and Enugu State in southeast Nigeria, to tell this sad story of the Nigerian state. This is the popular Zuma Rock in Madala, Niger State, north-central Nigeria, located just along the Abuja-Kaduna Expressway. Right at the foot of this rock is a 247 housing estate abandoned by the Niger State government. The Zuma Rock was once in every village and community in Nigeria when it used to adorn the 100 naira note of the country's currency. But for the controversy that trailed the claim by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, on the inscription on the note that the rock is located in Abuja, the nation's capital, and not in Suleja local government area of Niger State in north-central Nigeria. The CBN has since unceremoniously replaced the picture of the imposing Zuma Rock on the 100 naira note with that of dancers in different traditional wares to save itself from the embarrassment of this factual error on nothing less than the country's currency. What cannot, however, end anytime soon is the shame that the Niger State government has been unable to deliver on the 247 housing units at the foot of the Zuma Rock after about 20 years and counting. The project plaque here shows that the foundation stone of the housing estate was laid on February 1, 2000 by the then President Olusegun Obasanjo. But 17 years after and counting, just besides the foundation stone is one of the uncompleted and abandoned housing units in the estate. Some of the buildings in the estate that were supposedly completed now have their roofs blown off, with the integrity of most of the structures also under very serious questioning. The lack of landscaping and maintenance of the environment within the estate and the buildings already constructed have had the swampy nature of the area take its toll on the structures, rendering them almost inhabitable. We went round the abandoned estate only to discover that there is no source of clean and safe water for those who choose to live there, just as there is no electricity supply to any of the houses, giving a clear indication that the housing estate is far from being a home for anyone.
This place was bush with other security. As we come here, we have nowhere to stay, and we decided to come and stay here with some other colleagues, with some security that be here. When you come here, we see that there's a lot of people vandalize this place, and there's no more security in this place, and we have nowhere to be staying. So that we made the house that burning down. We see a lot of crime committing here. obstructing people, drugging people in and out along this place. So people scare about this Zuma Rock. So we say that as far as we are security men, we should be staying here, pending where the owner will come or the government will take in charge. We that are living here, we have to 200 people because we share this house 3 in 1. Both the security that guarding this place, they are here. We are living together with civilians, even with the road safeties, with migrations, not even only police, with other organizations, with civil defense, with civilians, to make sure to this place keeping not vandalized at any times.
All right, and then you told us here is a vandalized area.
That when we came here, like some people abandoned area that the project not completed buildings. Up to now, it's not completed. Some of us, we put window and door. There's no door. We put window, we put net, we plaster it. We create a lot of toilet and wear for ourselves to enable us to survive life.
The story of the Zuma Rock housing estate is symbolic of what has been the general experience with governance in the power state of Niger that has produced 2 of the country's leaders, namely Generals Ibrahim Babangida and Abdulsalami Abubakar. But then, like the other states sharing common boundaries with the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, including Nasarawa, Kaduna, and Kogi states, Niger has also failed over the years to take advantage of being on the corridor to the country's seat of power. Construction of the Zuma Rock housing estate started less than a year after the late former governor of Niger State, Abdul Kadir Kure, took office on May 29, 1999. Unfortunately, he could not deliver on the project throughout the 8 years that he was in office. The abandoned housing estate project did not also fare any better under the 8 years of the self-styled servant leader, Babangida Aliyu, who before his election as governor of the state was the permanent secretary of the Federal Capital Territory Administration, the FCTA. Under the administration of Governor Abubakar Sani Bello, nothing has yet changed about the abandoned housing project or the tourist potentials of the popular Zuma Rock, which should be creating hundreds of jobs for unemployed youths.
As far as that housing estate is concerned, there are some encumbrances surrounding the investors, the developers, as well as the government, the past government.
Does the government have any idea of what the confusion is?
Obviously, that's what we are trying to untangle now, officially.
We don't have any idea of what the problems.
The problems are lack of payment here, incomplete completion of on the part of the developers. It is the lack of completion of the memorandum undertook between the 2 parties, and we are trying to resolve that. And immediately that is done, we will take an appropriate action.
Okay.
And on our own part, the areas, contiguous areas, Zuma Rock, contiguous to federal capital. It is in interest of this government to see that we woo investors to partner with us, either in form of site and services, because of the viability of establishing houses there.
In South Nigeria, what should be a purely business and tourist project is now best described as white elephant. We are talking of the famous Tinapa Free Trade Zone and Resort in Cross River State. All the beautiful things were said by promoters of the project over 10 years ago as having been designed to serve as an economic hub in the West African sub-region. The $450 million project, an equivalent of 60 billion naira, was to be developed in 4 phases, but till date only phase 1 has been constructed and was officially opened on April 2, 2007, less than 2 months to the end of the tenure of then Governor Donald Duke, who initiated it. The business and leisure resort is located just 10 kilometers north of Calabar, the state capital, and it sits on 265 hectares of land that was previously used for rubber plantation in Odiabo community in Odukbani local government area of the state. The investments in Tinapa point to the vision of its founding fathers: a plush 245-room hotel, luxury shops and warehouses occupying 80 square meters, the elevated monorail, which is the first of its kind in Nigeria, and what is described as futuristic film studios meant to welcome the thriving Nollywood industry. But then when you walk around the Tinapa project, you see how the infrastructure and facilities that should have provided hundreds and thousands of jobs, especially for the youths, are idling and wasting away. The depth of silence that envelopes you in what should ordinarily be an international commercial center full of business activities easily reminds you of what is wrong with Nigeria.
The home of Tinapa, unprecedented, just in the sheer size, scale, and the imagination that went into that project.
Like Professor Yemi Osibajo, many may not also know what has become of the famous Tinapa. We are told that the siting of the project by the Free Trade Zone and the Calabar port, which should be an asset, has become the bane of the $450 million project that should have succeeded in all ways. We met with Asuko Ekpenyong Jr., who until his appointment as the Finance Commissioner in Cross River State in 2015 was the Managing Director of the Tinapa Business and Leisure Resort, to discuss what can best be described as a moribund investment, which in its first 2 years of operation reportedly made as high as $30 million.
Tinapa is an ambition that is delayed but not destroyed. That's how I like to think of it. There have been challenges in implementing the Gazette for Tinapa. There have been issues which maybe the federal agencies feel gives Tinapa and Cross River State undue advantage over other states, and as a result, the Gazette has not been implemented as it was drafted and approved. Tinapa is a wonderful concept, it's a wonderful idea, strategically located, and Tinapa has the capacity to generate billions, not just for Cross River State, but for Nigeria, if harnessed properly. But for Tinapa to work, Tinapa has to be seen and adopted as a strategic investment for not Cross River State, but for Nigeria. Tinapa was and is modeled to be a gateway, a mini Dubai, if you will, for West Africa. It has all the infrastructure, it has the enabling laws. The issue with Tinapa is implementing those laws, and it has been a painstaking process. Everything from the infrastructure to the vision to the laws were perfectly created for Tinapa to work. However, I think the fault is the spirit in which the federal agencies who are meant to supervise Tinapa. We've had issues with, without going into specifics, or the specifics of the issues, we've had issues with customs and trying to get some of our consignments through as when they come into the country. And it's been a challenge, but it's not one that cannot be resolved if everyone comes round to a table to discuss. I think the issue of Tinapa can easily be addressed if His Excellency, the President, Mohamed Buhari, sets up a committee between customs, Cross River State government, Tinapa management itself, and some of the various MDAs that are involved in the management of Tinapa. And with that committee working at such a high level and reporting to maybe the Chief of Staff to the Presidency, I believe that the issue of Tinapa will be resolved in favor of Cross River State, in favor of Nigeria and the great people of this country.
We shall now turn our focus to abandoned projects in the health sector. The sad truth is that the hospital projects are not very big ones, but then they were designed to serve the generality of the people, and abandoning them only points to the insensitivity of the government. What you are looking at is the abandoned Asata Sub-District Hospital project on Udi Road in the capital of Enugu State in southeast Nigeria. The authorities of the hospital will not discuss the project with us, just like the administration of Governor Ifeanyi Ugwanyi, after duly acknowledging our former request dated December 5, 2016. The Asata Sub-District Hospital is said to be very popular amongst pregnant women and remains the busiest secondary healthcare facility in the whole of Enugu State, with a delivery rate of 110 births per month, especially that there is free maternal and child healthcare services for tax-paying citizens in the state. This is Briska Ajeka. She served in the hospital as a youth corps member, and meeting with her and some pregnant women who visit the facility for their maternity checkups give us a clear picture of the services in this hospital that does not have enough beds for the expectant mothers who come to be delivered of their babies. You learned that a lot of, especially pregnant women, turn up here.
Yes, this is their home, actually, because it's very cheap, very affordable here to give birth. If you want to give birth in any other hospital, I don't think you pay anything less than 10,000 less. But here, I think it's just 1,000. So you can imagine.
Do you think we have enough equipment, theaters, we have enough medical staff, doctors?
Doctors, I don't think we have enough doctors. They're just doctors. Now, medical doctors, then 2 or 3 optometrists. The lab people, I think they need more hands.
You see that there's an expansion work going on that's almost abandoned.
Well, I met this abandoned work here. I don't know about it. Nothing has been going on.
For how long has it been like this?
I don't know, but I've been here since last year. Nothing has happened. This is my second time of visiting the hospital.
You had your first baby here?
Yeah. This is my second time of coming to the hospital. You're okay. And with a cool mind, you relax as if you are at your own home. No shaking. We want the government to complete the building because the pregnant women that are inside there now, they're just staying with benches, just long benches. The government should help in completing the building because the hospital is very nice. It will bring more development to the state.
The abandoned structure at the hospital stands side by side with the old building that is not just small, but also in need of renovation and upgrading. From one of the windows in the hospital, this densely populated slum stares you in the face, capturing the enormous responsibility this hospital has to deal with, even in its immediate host community. It is the same story in most parts of Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria, where a number of communities are without functional healthcare facilities across the length and breadth of the state. Located just about 10 to 12 kilometers away from Kafanchan, the headquarters of Jamar local government area of the state, is the Bakin-Kogi Kaninkon community. The only public healthcare facility in the sleepy community is in a terrible state of disrepair. But then the worst part of the story is the abandoning of what should have been a new hospital structure in the area. The size of the structure suggests that it was meant to be a cottage hospital, but the project initiated by the administration of the late Governor Patrick Ibrahim Yakowa around 2011 was abandoned by his successors immediately after he died in a plane crash on December 15, 2012. We have made attempts to engage health authorities in Kaduna State about the abandoned Bakin-Kogi Kaninkon Hospital project, and complaints from several other communities across the state. But these have not been successful, except for us to listen to residents of the affected communities.
This clinic, according to the history that I hear to build this clinic, is reached 32 years now, but I see this clinic. There is nothing here again. They are trying to build this big hospital here, and the person that he just tried to give us relief and he died. So when he died and the hospital is just behind, no work, no anything again.
It was Yakoa that was trying to bring the general hospital due to what I had. It was late Governor Patrick Brian Yakoa that was trying to bring this general hospital like here, and we very unfortunate he cannot be able to make up. So God have now decided on his own to take it away from us. If I meet Malan Arufe today, I'll ask him. I'll first of all tell him about my road. As you can come in, you see how the road was being looked. It's not good, sir. So we still manage it that way. You understand? But I will still request for a renovation of the primary health care so that it will more encouraging more than the way it is. Although our women used to give birth on this primary health care, as you can see it now. Now. As you can see it now.
Abandoned projects come in different shapes and sizes, with each having a story behind it. But then, those who should benefit from the projects are so denied for several years, after millions and in some cases billions of naira of state resources have been invested in them. We shall continue with our visit to different states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, to do a spotlight on a number of the abandoned projects, to draw attention of the relevant authorities to the need to complete them and put the projects to use without further delays. That's Straight Talk. Thanks to our partners, Media Dimensions, for their support. I am TV Tiav. Thanks a lot for watching, and goodbye from Abuja.